In a rich man's world. Now Justin Sun has 70 plus million Steam power from the acquisition. Why doesn't he just vote in his own nodes and witnesses? So, some important news if you've been out of the Steam loop for just a week, which is kind of scary. If you're on holiday or vacation for 2 weeks and then come back and be like, oh shit, like has been acquired, or Steam It has been acquired by Tron, kind of throws it all into the same boat. I think people from outside looking in will see this as just Tron has bought Steam, which has been tried to be communicated by a bunch of people that actually know they've bought Steam It, one of the biggest front ends on the Steam blockchain, and has done a hell of a lot of development and continues to do development on the Steam blockchain. And supported the Steam blockchain for many years, paying out massive amounts of money per year for cloud hosting, for the image hosting, let alone anything else, the servers and the APIs and all that sort of stuff. But my question is, and I'm sure it's the question of many other people, is after last week, Tron doing this acquisition, Tron went and did something where they forcibly changed some Tron nodes. Now, they changed them on purpose, or forcibly changed them, because they couldn't get in touch with the operators, or the other operators of the supernodes wouldn't update their system to the latest versions. Now, anybody who's into anything technology-wise knows that oftentimes the latest and greatest version of something probably fixes a bunch of vulnerabilities, or is more efficient, or is faster, or is better at securing the chain. So normally, after obviously debating that with a whole bunch of other people who run nodes as well, maybe some people are going through the code base looking for errors, that kind of stuff gets pushed out. It's what's happened on the Steam blockchain for the last 3 or 4 years. Your witnesses will gather together, they'll go through the new updates and new additions and the code changes, and then they'll agree or disagree if they want to push forward and enact that version of the blockchain. So from that perspective, it makes sense. But obviously a lot of people are getting kind of scared on the Steam blockchain because Tron is just going ahead and being like, well, we need to secure the chain, so we need to push it forward. But then that's kind of moving against decentralization, because if I'm running a node and I'm trying to support the blockchain, be it Steam, be it Tron, be it anything else, and you're basically just coming along and just actually knocking me off and just replacing me as such, a lot of people in the Steam blockchain, especially the top 20 consensus witnesses, are getting kind of concerned that this kind of mentality of just steamrolling through is a concern. But actually, I kind of see that this is what businesses do across the board, right? They acquire something. From my experience of being on the internet for like 20 years, everything that I've seen acquired from a business perspective, and this is normally in the Western world, by the way, like, or startup world, San Francisco, that I've noticed, is that somebody comes along, they either like the technology that they have, that a company has that they don't have, and so they're going to buy it so they get IP over the technology, or B, it's just like, you're a competitor and we want you to go away. But I think in the case of Tron, it's kind of like, let's gobble up all of these projects that didn't kind of make it to market, or like didn't sell themselves properly, or didn't like promote themselves, or people just didn't jump on board with it. And so at the moment, it's very much like the Nothing in Neverending Story. It's just like Tron's this big consuming machine that's just like a Pac-Man eating up like blockchains right now. And it's got a bad rep. Tron has got a bad rep. Whatever way you look at it, Steam's got a bad rep. Tron's got a bad rep. It's like shitcoin versus shitcoin. Even though I don't think Steam is a shitcoin, I think it has a hell of a lot of reach and utility. It just gets a bad rep. But then I also understand the bad rep when, if you just came into Steam the weekend of the news and sat in the Discord and listened for 5 hours, you would be concerned about the motives as well of the consensus of the blockchain, of the Steam blockchain, for the 10 or so witnesses that were actually there, because there was a lot of talking off the ledge of like, well, we should hard fork, or this is would be hostile takeover, which I'm not naive about. Like, I agree with that, but then you were put into a situation. The thing that came out of it for me is the behavior of, like, while Ned was malleable and he didn't threaten your little walled garden ecosystem of consensus, I kind of wonder if consensus has moved past just securing the open source nature of the latest code base, and because people have vested interest in the Steem blockchain for their products that they have, and they're in consensus. But then on the flip side of that, it's like, well, you'd want to be in that position, because why build something on the Steem blockchain if you don't have a voice to be able to affect change, right? So I've been thinking about this for the last week, and I'm sure everybody's been thinking about it. Do we think Justin's going to come along and wipe this clean? And from what I've seen so far, I don't see why he wouldn't. Like, I don't see why Justin Sun and Tron Foundation wouldn't set up 5 nodes, even just to be part of the conversation. If this is what the 20 consensus witnesses want, is a dialogue, and I mean a dialogue, I don't mean like, let's all come together with a strategy so that we can manipulate the best outcome for us. I mean, like, actually come together in terms of what we're doing with blockchain. Are we securing this chain for mutability, or if we're just using it to, like, secure our bags? Like, what are we doing here? I think it would be smart of Justin Sun anyway to set up 3 or 4 full nodes and be like, this is my commitment to the Steem blockchain, we're running full witnesses, and then vote them up so that a couple of them are in the top 20 consensus, because then at least that's the starting bracket of conversation. Yes, that might ruffle some feathers, but this whole notion of like crafting a seat at the table, Justin doesn't need to pull you a seat out of the table. Justin has the massive 70+ million SP share. He doesn't need to accommodate you. He doesn't need to put tea and biscuits and coffee out for you. Like, he owns that ninja mine. So I don't know, man. I think I've wrote a whole bunch of stuff here about it, and I'd love some feedback on it. But it does concern me as to where Steem is now, because we're in this kind of woolly area. Like, are we the Tron chain? Will it be Steem that carries on? Will we keep developing the Steem blockchain? Will those developers that are on Steem it go across to Tron or build bridges to that? I definitely think it's changed the power of the consensus and the big kind of whale accounts on the Steem blockchain, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think if this makes us look a little bit more inward as to what we're here for, a lot of people will bang on it's about community, because this might be the first time they've had like this communicative internet experience with people. I've had that way before this with like IRC, so this is nothing new to me. To a lot of people, this is their like home. This is their home on the web. And for me, it's just an immutable post-it note on the web that is a lot more stable, secure, has better uptime than any centralized web service WordPress ever could. So I have different interests in it, but I don't think we've catered for all of those interests. We've almost alienated, and there's a huge amount of intellectualism that goes on the Steem blockchain. And, you know, I'm not interested. I'm just not interested in that shit. I am interested in the longevity of the chain, because that's the whole fucking point of posting here, is that we have this like nodes dotted around the world that stay up, that stay current, that are secure, and you need governance to do that. So I'm kind of hoping for a halfway house. I'm hoping for Justin and Tron to buy some full nodes, show their commitment, maybe go and speak to Anyx, ANYX.io, and see what he's built, because he's built probably one of the best node setups on the Steem blockchain. Get him to deploy it, so then he's got a little bit of leverage there in terms of the overall group of consensus witnesses, and take it from there, instead of this way at the minute, which is sort of like, you know, throwing little paper planes to the back of the class like, will you be my friend? It's kind of a bit lame. Anyway, that's my thoughts about it. I kind of hope that they build some nodes this week and show their commitment, but I also think that it could be very easy that there's either like, maybe Tron takes the open source code of Steem as it is today and bolts in their whole, like, I don't know, builds in some kind of Tron component in there, or the SMTs get forged into some kind of TX token thing that Tron run. I think they run TRX10 and TRX20. They're like ERC20 tokens, or all compatible to ERC20 tokens. Anyway, just my thoughts. I hope it goes the right way this week, but obviously I am looking around at using other blockchains. I do want to export all of my stuff from the Steem blockchain and probably host it on something like Hugo, and maybe learn something else, like learn some static web hosting, something that I can like feel, you know. I'd like to get into learning about static web hosting because I think the speed of loads of a web page of like that content, so it's not like got a database behind the back of it. I would love to get into that stuff, but there's a lot of coding stuff that I don't understand that I need to learn. So maybe that's what I do now. You know, maybe that's what I do is learn how to use some of this stuff again. I got so fed up with CSS2 though back in the day that it infuriated me so much that it would work in one browser and not in another. I kind of turned my back on it. All right, I will catch up with you soon. I'd love to know what your opinions are. Is Tron just going to whitewash Steem and just like push it under the carpet? Are they hoping that a lot of people will move across to the Tron idea? Because I'm pretty cool to swap over to a Tron network and earn TRX tokens for my involvement. I'm already working on like a graphics pack, video pack, overlay pack for Tron content. Probably going to call it the little episodes Tron Flakes. Don't know, I just feel that fits perfectly. And I'm going to do a bit more deep dive and discovery about Tron and trying to work out where they're going, where they're trying to take this. Is it just to show growth to investors? Did they unlock a certain amount of money if they have a lot of TX records on TronScan? Because they've definitely done that with uTorrent. They bought uTorrent, they changed uTorrent so that it had code base in there for Tron. And now if you go to TronScan, you'll see that people are initiating uploads and downloads using uTorrent, BitTorrent technology, BTT, earning BTT token for sharing and uptime. It's obvious that the play is to change code bases a little bit to show TX records through TronScan, which then makes their blockchain look bigger, and they can also test their code base, so they can, if they've got a lot of traffic, they can see where the bottlenecks are. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like buying loads of farms and their livestock and then like just putting it through some kind of unit and lopping the head off of the chickens and selling them cheap. I don't know where I was going with that. All right, I'll catch up with you soon. Take care. Bye.